Robert McCall, an ex-Marine and CIA operative now leading a quiet life. Robert helps his colleague Ralphie achieve his dream of becoming a security guard. During lunch, he discovers potato chips in his tuna sandwich and advises gradual progress. Robert battles insomnia at a local diner, where he meets a young girl who frequents the same spot. Their interactions grow over time. At work, colleagues speculate about Robert's past, but he playfully misleads them. At the diner, the girl's routine is disrupted by a limo, revealing she has ties to someone dangerous. The two continue to bond until the girl disappears, and Robert learns of her severe beating. He rushes to the hospital, where he meets Mandy, another victim of the same tormentor. In the grim world of Alina, she confides in Robert McCall about her brutal beating by Slavi. Robert studies the business card and CD gifted by Elena and realizes that Alina's life is at stake. Struggling with a promise to his late wife never to resort to violence, he ultimately decides that action is necessary. He confronts Slavi at an apartment above a restaurant, offering money for Elena's freedom. When Slavi throws a curveball, Robert takes matters into his own hands, dispatching Slavi and his henchmen with ruthless efficiency. Robert heads home, dons his wedding ring, and prepares for the fallout. Meanwhile, a Russian mobster named Teddy arrives in Boston, determined to uncover the killer, and confronts local Irish mobster John Looney, leading to a tense standoff with Frank Masters. In the quiet aftermath, Teddy informs Pushkin of the murders, suggesting an outsider's involvement due to the skill displayed. Pushkin dismisses this, urging Teddy to handle the situation publicly. Teddy reviews security footage and spots Robert entering the building. Meanwhile, Robert discovers that Ralphie quit his job unexpectedly. Investigating further, Robert and Ralphie suspect the recent electrical fire at Ralphie's mother's restaurant was no accident. Two corrupt cops, Ramar and Peterson, harass Ralphie's mother for protection money. Robert exposes their extortion and forces them to return the money. Teddy interrogates Mandy, learning about Alina and a concerned black man. On another note, Ralphie proudly starts his new job as a security guard, and Robert faces a robber at his workplace, showing a keen interest in the cashier's ring. With the family's safety in mind, Robert surrenders the cashier's ring to a robber, covertly noting his license plate. The police link this man to recent robberies. Reassuring Ralphie, Robert believes no money is worth a life, later retrieving a sledgehammer. Jenny finds her ring back in the register, and Robert returns the sledgehammer. Teddy poses as a detective, showing Robert a photo of Mandy's death, masking it as an accident. Robert prepares for travel, crafting a false prescription. Teddy's crew trails him to a diner but falls into Robert's trap. He escapes and observes Teddy's crew through hidden cameras. Meanwhile, Susan helps Robert gather information about Teddy and his employers, revealing Robert's fake death. Robert learns that the men he eliminated were part of the Russian Mafia, led by Vladimir Pushkin. Teddy, whose real name is Nikolai, is Pushkin's fixer. The corrupt cops Ramar and Peterson were also on Pushkin's payroll, but are now dead. Susan warns Robert that these men won't rest until he and his loved ones are dead. Robert returns to the city and lures Frank outside, trapping him in a rigged car and forcing Frank to cooperate. Guided by Frank, Robert secures the Russian stash in a warehouse and then alerts the police. He retrieves a USB stick from Frank's safety deposit box, containing information about Pushkin's operations. Meanwhile, Teddy meets with a Russian mercenary to discuss Robert's assassination, but is confronted by Robert, who presents an ultimatum. Robert shares a story suggesting Teddy's dark past, leaving an offer on the table. Later, Robert transfers millions from Pushkin's operations using the USB stick. Desperate to confront Robert, Teddy plots to draw him out. He takes McCall's co-workers hostage at Home Mart, setting a 30-minute ultimatum for Robert's appearance. However, Robert had already planted bombs on Pushkin's oil tankers, and they exploded, destroying the ships. In an attempt to locate Robert's cell phone, Teddy discovers that Robert left it on a bus as a diversion. A Gladys Knight and the Pips song plays over the store's intercom, and Robert employs stealth to eliminate the mercenaries who approach Ralphie. As Teddy's men enter the building, Robert improvises traps and eliminates them. Despite being shot in the shoulder, Robert escapes using a makeshift cauterizing tool. More henchmen arrive and encounter Robert's lethal traps. Ralphie, wounded but resilient, is tasked with restoring power to the store. Robert lures another henchman into a deadly room, and Ralphie races to restore power. As the room's power surges back on, the henchman faces a catastrophic explosion. Teddy, determined to reach Ralphie, confronts him with violent intentions. Robert intervenes and immobilizes Teddy using a nail gun, leaving Teddy overwhelmed and desperate, questioning Robert's identity as Robert delivers a final shot to end him. 3 days later, Robert travels to Moscow, Russia, to find Pushkin. Catching Pushkin off guard during a shower, Robert confronts him, demanding the head of the snake. Pushkin tries to bribe his way out, but Robert is gone from the room. In a final confrontation, Pushkin is electrocuted and dies. Returning home, Robert passes the lifeless bodies of guards. Back home, Alina, on her road to recovery, informs Robert that she has found a proper job, taken up reading, and discovered an envelope containing $9,800 among her hospital items. She expressed her gratitude to Robert for making her life better. A few months later, Robert went online as the Equalizer and offered to assist people with his special abilities. Soon after, he received a cryptic email requesting help, to which he simply replied with a concise, "Yes." In the second movie, Robert McCall is undercover on a scenic train ride to Istanbul, closely monitoring a man who abused and forced his daughter back to Turkey. McCall dispatches the man's entourage with ease and offers the man a choice: endure the usual pain or something far more excruciating. The scene transitions to Robert working as a Lyft driver, engaging in conversations with passengers while leading a seemingly mundane life in the bustling city streets, all while being ready to step in and help those in need. However, Robert's life is anything but ordinary. Grace, the mother of the young girl he rescued on the train, enters her attorney's office. Her daughter is safe, and the two embrace with gratitude, knowing that Robert's intervention made it possible. Yet, Robert remains on the road, quietly observant and ready for the next mission, unassuming. The scene shifts to a home in Brussels, where Calbert walks in expecting a normal evening but is confronted with a gruesome sight: his wife, battered and bloodied, crying at the dining table. A cold-blooded killer shoots her, and Calbert is forced to turn the gun on himself. Back to Robert continuing his job as a Lyft driver, he assists a distressed woman with severe injuries. He advises the man accompanying her to do the right thing, but a confrontation erupts. In less than 30 seconds, Robert's combat skills and ruthless efficiency become evident. Robert's old friend, Susan, visits, and they reconnect over dinner. Susan mentions it's his late wife's birthday and gently encourages him to socialize and possibly find a new companion. The next day, Robert finds Fatima's garden and wall vandalized. Miles Whitaker offered to repaint the wall for $350 after some negotiation. Meanwhile, Susan engages in an online chat with her partner on a high-profile murder case in Brussels, Dave. They discuss the case and the developments surrounding it, setting the stage for a new mystery in Robert's life. While trying to distract himself, Robert spends time with Sam, a Lyft passenger who shares his story of being separated from his sister during World War II. A treasured photograph confirms her identity. Meanwhile, Susan and Dave arrive in Brussels to investigate the deaths of their fellow agents. Despite the official classification as a murder-suicide, Susan is unsettled by the blood-splattered family photos at the crime scene. As Susan enters her hotel room, she is ambushed and overpowered by two men. Back home, Robert receives a call from Brian, Susan's husband, informing him of her murder. Robert promises to bring the perpetrators to justice. He investigates Susan's murder, decrypting her phone and hacking into the hotel's security system. In another part of town, Susan's assailants meet a deadly end when a bomb detonates in their apartment, orchestrated by one of the three men responsible for the murder in Belgium. Simultaneously, Robert reunites with his former partner, Dave. Dave is shocked to see Robert alive, believing he had attended Robert's funeral. Robert shares his suspicion that Susan's murder was premeditated, citing the odd fact that she hadn't pressed her elevator button. Robert delves into Susan's last case, attempting to unravel the sequence of events leading to her murder and uncover the mystery surrounding her death. Investigating Susan's and the Belgian couple's murders, Robert discovers a crucial connection. Both crimes were committed by a left-handed individual, suggesting a complex and bigger picture. His apartment is a testament to his relentless pursuit of the truth, strewn with papers and technology dedicated to Susan's case. As he notices the unfinished wall and Miles's absence, Robert heads into hood territory, taking out 2 guards and confronting Miles hanging out with a gang. In a tense standoff, Robert imparts a powerful message about the difference between real gangsters and mere boys, ultimately leaving Miles to decide his path. Miles later returns, indicating that he finished the wall. After Miles finishes painting the wall, Robert makes a deal with him. He'll agree to let Miles repaint his house wall if Miles reads a book. Returning to his job as a Lyft driver, Robert picks up a passenger heading to the airport. Suspicious of the passenger's odd behavior, Robert's instincts prove right when the man suddenly pulls a knife and lunges at him. In a tense confrontation, Robert swerves the car, disarms the attacker, and eliminates him to erase any evidence. The next day, Robert visits Dave's house and exposes Dave as the orchestrator behind the murders, using the assassin's phone to make Dave's cell ring, revealing the shocking truth to Dave's family. The plot takes a dramatic turn as the web of intrigue unravels further. In a tense confrontation with Dave, the orchestrator behind the murders, he confesses to his crimes, citing betrayal by the government as his motive. Dave then introduces Robert to his hitmen, Resnick, Ari, and Kovac. Robert vows revenge for Susan's murder and skillfully thwarts their attempt on Brian's life, escorting Brian to safety. Meanwhile, at Robert's home, Dave's men corner Miles. Robert uses surveillance cameras to guide Miles and contacts Dave, leading him to believe he knows Robert's whereabouts. The narrative shifts to Robert's small hometown, where he lays traps for Dave's crew. One by one, Robert eliminates the hitmen. In a final face-off, Dave and Robert duel atop a tower during a violent hurricane. Robert emerges victorious, killing Dave and saving Miles. He gazes at a picture of his late wife and then tends to the wounded Miles. In various concluding scenes, Sam is reunited with his sister Magda, and Fatima finds a mural that resembles her homeland. The narrative ends with Robert standing contemplatively in his old home, looking out at the serene sea. The story concludes, marking the end of their tumultuous journey.